It's 4 p.m. and we're bringing you the developing news and the stories behind the headlines. This is Storycon. I'm Patrick Paez. Some stories we're watching this Wednesday, September 18. Vice President Sara Duterte refused to take the oath her oath during the House Good Government Committee hearing on her office's budget utilization. Duterte asserted that she was invited as a resource person, not as a witness. She also asked for the termination of the House investigation, claiming there is, quote, lack of any substantive matter for discussion. She argued that lawmakers are just making a case for impeachment. Human rights attorney Shel Jokno has joined the Akbayan party list ahead of the 2025 midterm elections. Jokno was sworn in by Senate Deputy Minority Leader Risa Ontiveros. Akbayan earlier urged the COMELEC to give them the party list seat vacated by Anwaray following the latter's registration cancellation. Akbayan was a place shy of the 56-group circle of winning party list groups in the last elections. Dismissed Bamban Mayor Alice Go's qualified human trafficking case will be transferred from Capas Tarlac to the Pasig RTC. The Supreme Court has approved the transfer at the request of the Justice Department. The DOJ believes the move will ensure a fair trial and avoid undue influence. And Tropical Storm Helen continues to move over the northern portion of the Philippine Sea. It was last spotted 1,060 kilometers east-northeast of extreme northern Luzon and will exit the Philippine area of responsibility this afternoon or evening. Meantime, the southwest monsoon or habagat will still bring rains over parts of the country, including Metro Manila. And former budget executive Christopher Lau has been arrested today in Ecolan, Davao City. This is in connection with an alleged anomalous fund transfer in 2020. Sandigan Bayan's First Division earlier issued an arrest warrant for Lau for violation of the anti-graft law. His bail is set at 90,000 pesos. Joining us today, as always, Ana Marie Pamintuan, Editor-in-Chief of the Philippine Star, and on his way, running late, is our resident political pundit. Stuck in traffic because of yung manakanakang ulan, no, si Ronald Llamas, but he might be joining us on Zoom. Hindi makatiis eh.
Yeah.
Ayan, ready na.
Ayan na.
Ayan, oo. Kasalukuyang binabagtas ang kahaba ng EDSA. Actually, Ronald, malapit lang paggagalingan mo, pero talagang matindi ata traffic, ano?
Oo, grabe. Kanina pa ako rito sa EDSA.
Ano ba yan? Baha ba yan, Ronald? Or what is causing the traffic?
Hindi naman. Parang unusual traffic. Pero hindi naman dahil sa baha. Dahil hindi naman ganun kalakas ang ulan. Muulan, pero hindi ganun kalakas.
Baka may nagrarally ulit dyan sa EDSA, ha?
Oo, magandang maulan na hapon, Patrick, Ami.
So susunod kasi, Ronald, aga-agahan mo ang biyahe para umabot ka. Maganda pa naman ang pag-uusapan natin ngayon, Ami, Ronald, ano? Yung hearing sa House of Representatives a while ago, sumipot po si Vice President Sara Duterte. Marami po pwedeng piliin. We can pick out a lot of story angles from that hearing a while ago. Ami, we're curious to know, what do you think is the biggest, what's your lead story from that House committee hearing a while ago?
Nagpunta siya doon para patigilin yung probe.
Yun, ang angulo po ng Philippine Star. Right.
Kasi dati na niyang sinabi yon na yung investigation na yan, well, it's a hearing, no? It's a budget hearing na napunta nga sa mga anomalya. Matagal na niyang sinabi yan na it's actually, suspect siya niya, laying the basis for her impeachment. Di ba? Although, yung takbo daw ng questioning tungkol sa mga funding, mukhang doon patungo. Dati na niyang sinabi yan eh. Pero ngayon lang niya pinapa-terminate. And of course, tinulungan siya ng kanyang kaalyado, si former Speaker, former President, si Macapagal Arroyo. At ine-explain na kapag resource person ka nga raw, hindi mo naman kailangan ma-swear in, which is being disputed by the congressman. Naghihintay pa tayo ng mas mahabang reaksyon ng mga members niyang committee, no?
Right. Ami, Ronald, she has always said, she has said in the past na bahala na kayo kung gusto nyo aprobahan yung budget na yun o hindi. She said kahit wala daw i-approve ang budget, tuloy pa rin daw yung trabaho ng OVP. She doesn't need their budget. And yet she attended the hearing today. And I guess it was more like she was looking for a platform to deliver some of her messages, right, in public. Do you agree, Ronald Llamas?
Well, dapat as a lawyer, alam ni Vice President Sara Duterte na yung legislative inquiry ng Congress is the most comprehensive power of any government institution. No? Ang Supreme Court lang ang pwede magsabi sa Congress kung ano yung limits ng legislative inquiry powers na yan. Dapat alam yan ng Vice President. Tinuturo yan sa law school eh. Dapat by this time, alam niya at ni ex-human rights lawyer Harry Roque na ang Supreme Court lang ang pwede magsabi ng limits na yan. Paano nagreklamo rin kasi si ex-human rights lawyer Harry Roque, di ba? Na walang karapatan ang Congress na hingiin yung kanyang mga salin at iba pang mga relevant papers katulad ng bank accounts. Medyo similar din yung sinasabi ni Vice President Sara Duterte na walang karapatan ang Congress na hingiin yung kanyang oath as a resource person dito sa hearing na ito. Medyo as lawyers, dapat alam nila. Supreme Court lang ang pwede magsabi nun.
Okay, Ronald, do you agree with the Vice President when she says that the House is simply trying to lay the groundwork for an impeachment case?
Well, ipagpalagay na natin na may basihan yun. Na hindi ko sigurado, no? Pero yung hinihingi ng House sa kanya ay nasa prerogative, nasa powers ng House. Dahil lahat naman kasi ng mga political groups ay merong mga vested interests eh. Lahat yan ay either kakampi mo o kalaban mo. Pero it doesn't undermine the legislative inquiry power of the House or the Senate. No? Kaya hindi excuse na sabihin mo, uy, may agenda yan laban sa akin. Meron man o hindi, yung hinihingi sa iyo ng House ay kailangan mong ibigay, even as a Vice President.
Meron o hindi, Ronald. Pero anong tingin mo, meron ba o wala?
Well, ang sabi kasi ng mga kongresista ay wala silang plano na mag-file ng impeachment. Di ba? Ang nagsasabing meron ay si ex-Senator Trillanes. Now, within the realm of the possible naman kasi, hindi naman kinakailangan na kongresista ang mag-file ng impeachment.
Right.
Pwedeng karaniwang tao. Ang mahalaga ay may isang kongresista na mag-endorse ng impeachment na yan. Hindi kinakailangan yung buong House ang mag-endorse. So, may ganong klaseng possibility. Paano sabi ni Senator Trillanes, ipa-file niya any day from now. No? At mukhang sabi ng mga kongresista na Makabayan Bloc ay open sila na endorse yan. Pero hindi ko sasabihin na yung buong House ay may plano na impeachment.
Okay, before we proceed with this discussion on today's hearing the House of Representatives, we have this soundbite earlier from the Vice President. Let's all listen to it.
I am not asking for any special treatment, nor am I asking you to uphold any tradition. There is no disrespect. All I am saying is that you have the complete freedom to do whatever you wish with the OVP budget. If you feel that all the documentary submissions are not enough, then by all means, huwag kayo magbigay ng budget. Sa totoo lang, hindi naman ang budget ang punteriya ninyo. Dahil napakadali naman magtanggal ng budget. What you are trying to do is make a case for impeachment.
Okay. Ami, you want to weigh in on that? Ronald, Ami?
Actually, pwede pangunahan yan ng mga anyway. Nandiyan naman si GMA, nakakampi niya. And I'm sure GMA is familiar with yung term na ini-inoculate ka from impeachment, no, merong magfa-file kasi pwedeng initiate yung impeachment only once a year. Pwedeng may mag-file ng isang defective impeachment case at tapos na yan, game over na yan for the year. Pwede naman ang ganun din eh. If we are going to talk about impeachment,
Right.
yung mga sinabi niya ngayon, actually, ang bago lang dyan, siya mismo ang nagsabi about it. Although, as I said, hindi na nga bago yan eh. Yan yung position niya from the start na gusto lang ako impeach ng mga yan, kaya ganyan. Kasi meron din namang sinabi, yung ibang kongresista, na yun na nga, na yung utilization niya, yung alleged misuse na ng pondo niya, can be impeachable. So, yun ang take-off niyang mga sinasabi niyang yan. Pero ewan ko kung bakit ganyan kasi binigyan lang naman siya ng chance. Remember, yung panel na yan sinara na, kinap na yung kanyang budget Although they gave her nga a chance to appear again, para nga defensahan kasi hindi pa naman final yon. Pupunta pa yan sa plenary, pupunta pa yan sa Senado na meron siyang mga kakampi rin. So, gusto lang niyang magkaroon ng ganyang platform nga para ulitin nga, gusto niyo lang ako impeach.
Okay, so from all indications, Ami, she may have already lost the fight for her budget, for the OVP budget. Of course, they're going to get some money still, to operate to keep it on, on working order. But like you said a while ago, to our point earlier too, that it's become a platform for her to go on the defensive or offensive or whatever. Parang ganun ang nangyayari, ang naging utility ng House hearing na ito. Ronald, are you still on the line? Are you still with us?
Baka nakarating na dyan sa studio at papunta na dyan.
Packet na daw. Parating na raw dito. Malapit na. So, makakasama natin si Ronald dito. Okay. So Ami, ganun nga, parang mukhang tanggap niya na kakatayin ng kanyang budget. Okay. May matitira pa rin naman, I think, Ami. They were looking at 700 million plus, which is not bad.
Yes.
I understand it's not very far from the kind of budget that was given to VP Leni Robredo during the Duterte years. And she was also outside the Colombo, Parang ganun. So it's not bad. The office will still function. Right?
Marami naman siyang nagawa, di ba?
Right.
Kasi Leni Robredo as VP, marami siyang nagawa with that limited budget.
Yeah.
Yan ang sinasabi ng mga House. Although yun na nga, sabi ko, pwede pa rin, may inaasahan pa naman si VP Sara dahil pupunta pa yan sa plenary, although medyo mahina-hina na yung, yung chance ng budget na yun. Pero pagdating sa Senate, magkakaroon pa ng bicameral conference. And we are hearing some senators already saying na dapat i-respeto nyo naman yung budget ng OVP at ibalik. Siguro kahit konti man lang of the 1 billion na tinanggal, 1.2, malaki-laki yun. Although yun na nga, kung i-kumpara mo nga kasi doon sa mga budget dati ni VP Leni, medyo may kalakihan yung binigay ngayon kay VP Sara.
Okay.
Baka i-restore lang dun.
My question to Ronald is that you think it's still possible for the OVP budget to rebound or recover once it gets to the Senate?
Well, it is in the realm of the possible dahil may proseso pa siyang
But
dadaanan
let's
sa
look at the
BICAM.
political makeup of the Senate right now. Are the senators likely to butt heads with Congress over this?
Well, huwag mong kalimutan na Patrick, nung dumaan yan sa Senate ay si Senator Risa Hontiveros lamang ang nag-question at saka tumutol. Parang inaprubahan naman yan ng Senado. Although, pwede rin nilang bawiin yan. Depende sa magiging proseso sa BICAM. Kaya sinasabi ko na posible yan. Pero sa tingin ko, kahit may dalawang admin senator na nagsalita na, si Senator Joel Villanueva at saka si Senator Jingoy Estrada, nagsalita na meron silang inclination na ibalik yung budget na tinanggal ng House. Tingin ko ay baka mag-hesitate yung karamihan sa senador na makipag-away over this sa Congress.
Okay. It's a surprising statement coming from Senator Jingoy Estrada, the Senate President pro tempore, that is squarely with the administration. But I'm not surprised with Senator Joel Villanueva because I've been seeing some of his public pronouncements, medyo bumabahan na. Pumupusturong opposition si Senator Joel Villanueva, I think at this point.
Yes, lalo
But-
na dahil natanggal siya dun sa
Yes,
leadership role ng Senate together with Mig Subiri.
Right,
Kaya
right.
medyo nagrarangkel pa rin sa kanya.
So
yung
given the
pagkatanggal.
composition of the Senate,
Yeah.
the mood of the Senate, you think will they stick their necks out for the Vice President?
From my vantage point, duda ako. No, duda ako over this. Kumbaga, i-risk nila yung kanilang relasyon sa administrasyon, sa presidente, over the budget of the Vice President. Now that the lines have been drawn between the administration and the Duterte, I doubt kung tatalon sila sa ganyang klaseng away.
Okay, we have joining us policy advisor and academic Richard Hidarian, who also happens to have a show with us here in One News. Richard, what's your take with developments of the House of Representatives today, early this afternoon? Yes, Richard.
I think the battle lines were drawn very clearly today. No? So I think, first of all, we have to give credit to Sara Duterte. I think she did what many people were, well, at least on her side, hoping her to do, which is to take a strident stance, not only present herself as a victim of a supposed political witch hunt, but also present herself as someone who's professional, someone who's patriotic, someone who cares about the true problems of the country, and someone who does not hold back from calling out what she believes is a kind of a demolition job, right? So we can have a debate about the substance of her argument, but I think the construction of the argument, obviously binabasa lang niya sa cellphone, but I think whatever was constructed there and the way she delivered it was very strident and strong, and it was something na bagay sa kanyang personality, because you cannot rebrand or show a different side of you na malayo dun sa initial perception ng tao sa'yo. Of course, ang perception sa kanya is matapang, palaban. So we saw that matapang and palaban side. So I think from a public relations, communication standpoint, that was one of the finer, if one of the finest performances or posturing by her in recent months. And I think that already sets the battle lines for the coming weeks and months, especially as we head into elections, where she's saying, ako, ang paki ko, yung bansa, yung mga problema ng bansa, kayo, purong politika lang gusto niyo at gusto niyo i-sabotage yung aking potential future hopes. Or you're all doing this just because you don't want me to be the next president and you have your own ambitions. From that standpoint, I think she did very well.
Okay, I'm excited to hear Ronald's take on that. Richard says he appreciates the messaging that was delivered by the Vice President. Do you think it will go down well with the public?
Depende sa pinanggagalingan. Halimbawa, compared dun sa kanyang previous na pagharap sa Kongreso nung unang budget hearing niya, better na ito.
Improvement.
Oo. Pero, halimbawa, yung mga sinabi niya, yung substance na ayaw niya ng special treatment. By not taking the oath, you are asking for special treatment. So, yun yung ibig sabihin nun. No? Dahil lahat naman ng resource person nagte-take ng oath eh. So, bakit siya hindi? No? So, kung yan ay babanata ng mga kongresista, ay may puntos yung Congress laban sa kanya. Lalo na, inuulit ko, yung legislative inquiry powers ng Congress ay very comprehensive at very broad, at Supreme Court lang yung pwedeng mag-dictate kung ano yung limits nun. Not even the Vice President can do that.
Okay, I mean, how about you? Do you think this will play out well or not too well out in the public? The Vice President,
Babalikan ko lang yung tanong mo kanina, Patrick, yung may pag-asa ba to sa Senate?
Right.
You know, the senators will also think about the issues involved there. Kasi medyo nadikdik na rin dyan kung bakit tinanggal ng House yung ganong kalaking pondo. Di ba? Medyo matagal na this has been a drawn out inquiry at yung mga issues naglabasan na eh. Ano yung ginawa na dito sa pondon to? Saan napunta to? Bakit tinanggal yung mga secret funds? Nag-umpisa yan sa secret funds eh. Siyempre, isipin din yun ng mga senador. Although, of course, meron siya mga kakampi doon, bilang natin, yung dalawa in addition to the three na pro-Duterte. Pero titignan natin yung kung ano mangyayari sa Senate and then finally sa bicameral. Dahil nga sabi mo, siyempre, well, as Richard also said, battle lines have been drawn. Siyempre, iniisip din na medyo malakas pa rin itong presidente to at this point.
Okay.
The administration is very strong and you know, kung saan sila nakapwesto when it comes to the Vice President, and the Dutertes.
Okay.
In
Ronald?
relation do sa Senate, ay baka mahirapan yung ibang senador na i-carry yung cudgel for the Vice President, especially in
Yes.
relation dun sa notice for disallowance ng COA. Siguro dapat madagdagan yung dalawang pro-Duterte, si Bongo at saka si Bato at saka si Jinggoy, dahil parang hindi magandang spokesperson yung tatlo about tungkol sa usapin ng ganyang klaseng issues of corruption. Lalo na si Senator Jinggoy ay meron pang conviction for graft and corruption, no?
Okay.
So dapat makahanap sila ng ibang
Overturned,
kakampi.
overturned.
Oo, na magdadala ng issue dito sa usapin ng 73 million na notice of disallowance.
Okay, Richard, you said battle lines have been drawn. So my question to you is, where do you think the Senate will go? The senators.
Well, I mean,
will go
first of all, I mean, Patrick, great questions. First of all, opening salvo lang ito. So don't expect this to be this kind of a one-act thing. So essentially, Sara is saying this will be our line for the next weeks, months, if not all the way to 2028. So imagine all of their proxies, all of their supporters, propagandists, allies are going to build essentially on that argument. And I think that will be her personality and positioning. Now, speaking of the Senate, the thing is, one side of the argument is that kung may opportunity to impeach her or push for that is now kasi may leverage ka over a lot of senators who want to get re-elected, and obviously if you're in the administration slate or you have the support of the administration, your chances are way higher, let's say 5 to 10% bump in the numbers. But I think first of all there's an element of time. It's already mid-September, malapit na mag-break. I think the momentum was there perhaps 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. So I think perhaps even some people in the Congress are getting cold feet. I mean, no less than Sonny Trillanes, someone who was very optimistic about impeachment and ICC coming this month, are wondering what the heck is going to happen, whether he has to take things into his own hands. The other thing is that there are a lot of senators there who are not necessarily, have not chosen between any of these two sides and want to run at least for VP, if not president. Some of them may even want to be the running mate of Sara Duterte, or at least they don't want to be at the cross heirs of the Duterte side. So they may think jumping on this, what seems to be a kind of a hodgepodge approach, will not help them down the road. I mean, you can imagine there are people like Senator Grace Poe, who's now leading the vice presidential race in Pulse Asia's survey, way ahead of everyone, but she'll be out of position and she's not running for election. Why should she be part of something that will come back to haunt her later on? If she can play just this safe all the way to 2028 and have a good relationship with all sides and easily become the next vice president. I'm just giving you one example here. So it's not very clear to me the leverage of the administration on some of the senators is as strong, and the element of time I think is very important. In 2 weeks, we will be talking about who's running for Senate, who's running for the midterm elections. So I think Sara was not doing a genius job of killing the momentum against her, but I think she did a good job of kind of holding the fort and giving chance for others to think twice if they wanted to join this bandwagon of impeaching her or striking down the Dutertes all the way.
Okay, before we proceed, let's hear again another soundbite from the Vice President from earlier today in the House hearing.
Kasi nagsabi na siya kanina, 'di ba? Determination of malfeasance, nonfeasance, misfeasance. So ibig sabihin, merong ginawang mali. Nagpa-practice sila kung ano yung kakagat sa impeachment. Kahit anong gawin nila, wala talaga kaming ginawang mali sa Office of the Vice President.
Ronald, is it good strategy? Of course, the answer might be obvious, but then again, maybe it's not that obvious. Is it good strategy for the administration, or at least for the ruling coalition, the House of Representatives, to impeach her?
Well, tama yung sabi ni Richard. Kung merong planong impeachment, ang kalaban ngayon ay time, panahon. No? Dahil recess na sa katapusan. Tapos filing of candidacy na starting October 1. At almost kampanya na after nung filing. No? At kaya yun yung pinaka-problema kung merong nagpaplano ng impeachment. No? Ikalawa, yung nabanggit ni Richard na pwedeng may mga ilang senador na open na mag-vice presidential candidate kay Sara. Totoo yun, pero hindi ganun karami. Halimbawa, ang pumuposisyon niyan, probably si Robin Padilla.
Right.
Si Grace po kasi naghahabol ng posisyon sa cabinet within the next 3 years, pagkatapos ng term niya next year. Kaya mas malaki ang probability na sumama si Grace po sa administration. rather than sa mga Duterte. No, yun yung
Hindi yan nilinya kay Sara over the OVP
within
budget.
the next 3 years. Within the next 3 years, no? Tapos tingin ko ikatlo yung mas problema ng mga nagbalak ng impeachment ay baka wala pang go signal yung presidente na conflict adverse at passive aggressive. Tingin ko yun yung hinihintay ng mga leaders ng House. Ano ba yung blessing? Ano ba yung gusto ng presidente? Na tingin ko hanggang ngayon ay wala pa. No? Kaya yun yung main hindrance kung meron mang nagpaplano ng impeachment.
Okay, Ami, I'd like to hear your views on this matter. Ami has been covering Malacanang and has been EIC of the Philippines for some time. So you're quite familiar with mga galawang ganito, Ami. So what do you think? How is this going to play out?
I think yung impeachment trial balloon pa lang yan eh. Kasi remember, if you're going to impeach someone and kung sakasakali mang matuloy, ang iisipin ng mga tao, sino ba ipapalit? At kung sino yung ipapalit doon, it will affect the administration. So yan ngayon, tingin ko trial balloon lang. Ang more doable at this point, yung sinabi na rin ni Sara Duterte sa previous statements niya, they want to defang her, which they can do. Yun, pwede nilang gawin yon. They are doing it already through the budget. Ngayon, yung pagdidefang sa kanya na yon, meron ding basis yun merong COA yan That's not a political agency. So yun, pag yun ang sinasabi ko na iisipin din yan ng mga senador, that's a Commission on Audit report on how she used her budget since 2022 when she took over. So yan ngayon. Kami, matagal na namin naririnig yung impeachment na yan, dal. Pero hindi nga it's not just gaining traction And yun na nga sinabi ko, sinong ipapalit? Iisa lang pangalan na lumalabas dyan kung sakasakali na ipapalit. Kasi ang pipili dyan kung sakasakali is the President. Kung matatanggal ang Vice President mo, you will pick the new Vice President. Sinong pipiliin ni President Marcos? Iisa lang yung lumalabas na pangalan. And I think you know kung sino yon. And I'm not sure kung maganda for the administration yon. Kung mangyayari yon, baka maging martir pa yung mga Duterte, palakasin pa nila yan.
Okay.
Going into 2028.
Panghuling point lang.
Dali lang. Bago Ronald, si Richard is with us on limited time. Richard, I want to ask you, impeachment is a political process like they say. It doesn't matter what evidence you have. Do you think it's good politics to impeach the Vice President? Good or bad politics?
Kailangan ko lang kasi umabol for West Philippines yung article. But on this point, I think very quickly, sa isang banda, the strength of Sara's attack a while ago, and I think this will be their strength in the coming weeks and months, is there's a credibility gap with this Congress. This is the same Congress that the other year was defending some of the questionable or supposedly questionable practices of the office of the Vice President. The person who was in charge, si Stella Kimbo, was the very person who was defending her confidential fund the other year. So, yun yung wina-weaponize ng mga Sara Duterte side. Like, you guys have no credibility. When we were doing fine as a unit team, you were all on my side and passing my budget very fast. And now that the unit team is not there, suddenly you have issues with my practice. So that credibility gap is something that is biting back the Philippine House of Representatives. And I think many in the Senate don't want to be part of that and want to project this image of being above the fray. And I think the Senate, obviously, the quality of some of their hearings were obviously inferior to what we would expect. And Congress has been doing some very solid hearings. But the problem is, again, the credibility gap and institutional reputation. I think the Congress has that problem. But more importantly, Amy was right. You see, Ralph Waldo Emerson said something, if you strike at the king, you must make sure, you finish the job. Otherwise, he will come back with vengeance. And I think the problem here is that kung dodgy, shady, hodgepodge, yung itong attack nila kay Sara, or what Sara sees as a demolition job, if they don't see this through, because as Ronald correctly pointed out, you have a risk-averse president who doesn't seem to be able to be in a position to put everyone in line to get some difficult job across the line. Baka gusto niya magduran-duran or mag-concert. My point is that could come to bite them later on. Because if the plan B is dudurugin mo yung mga Duterte sa midterm elections dahil mas marami kang pera and resources, and then you have another 2 years na dudurugin mo sila para hindi na sila tumakbo sa 2028, you never know that could work. If anything, if Duterte's just survive in midterm elections and get 1 or 2 senators in, Bongo is almost sure, that's victory alone. They could play guerrilla warfare, just survive, then come back with a vengeance, and as Ami said, even come back as martyr. But tough and fighting martyrs. And this was something we didn't see with Lenny before. I think Lenny did not show the toughness that Sara is showing. And given our electorate and the predisposition of people, I think this kind of palaban martyr style may actually work. So I'll never underestimate the Dutertes. I think they have a good chance of coming back. So if some people think the plan B is the way forward, be careful for what you wish for. The Dutertes can come back with a vengeance later on.
Okay, I know you have limited time with us and you have to go. Thank you, Richard Darian, political and geopolitical analyst. Thank you, Richard.
Thanks, Richard.
Blogger extraordinaire, self-proclaimed.
Yun, I've been seeing your posts. All your collabs, especially
Thanks,
with
Richard.
with the
Thank you,
Harry
Amin.
Roque character who is making waves right now on TikTok. Thank you, Richard.
Abangan, maraming darating dyan. Yeah, salamat. Talk to you.
Ronald, we were chatting
Yes,
during
yes.
the break, and Duterte, the father, has been conspicuously silent in all this.
Yeah.
Is it pinatatahimik ba? Because we know from surveys na medyo parang naapektuhan yung pagdadaldal niya dati, all those strong statements against the administration, may have affected and pulled down the
Yeah.
daughter. So, is it by design or is there another reason?
It could be both. Dahil sabi nga ni Malutikia, isang political ally nila at head ng Publicus survey agency, ay nung survey 2 months ago na dramatically bumaba si Sara, ang sabi nila, ang isa sa main cause ay yung tatay. Yung mga statements ng tatay ay nakakatulong i-drag down si Sara. And that is coming from one of their allies, no, na head ng isang survey firm. Pero ikalawa, ito naman galing sa mga kakilala ko sa Davao, talagang medyo hirap na si Digong. Huwag kalimutan, siya ay magna-90 na, natin the best of health, at baka psychologically ay nakita niya yung pag-hemorrhage o pag-ubos ng kanyang political base, yung pagbaliktaran ng kanyang mga kaalyado.
Nakaka-depression.
Nakadagdag din yun sa physical situation niya. Kaya hindi ako magugulat kung yung dalawang factor, yung dahilan kung bakit tahimik. Pero gusto ko lang balikan yung sinabi ni Richard kanina. No? Talaga namang yung gobyerno ay nasa isang parang damn if you do, damn if you don't situation. Dahil if they don't go for the jugular, dito sa kanilang main political rival ngayon, yung mga Duterte, ituloy yung quad hearing sa logical conclusion, ituloy yung Senate hearing sa logical conclusion, at ituloy yung possible impeachment ni Vice President Sara na kung mag-succeed ay hindi na siya pwedeng tumakbo for any elected position, no, in the future. Kung hindi nila gagawin
Impeachment has that effect?
Yes.
Or consequence?
Yes. Pag na-impeach ka, hindi ka na pwedeng tumakbo. So, walang sympathy. Kahit may sympathy yan, ay walang value.
Walang
no?
value, kahit may sympathy. Right?
Kung hindi nila magagawa yan, ay babalikan sila ng mga Duterte. Kung mag-survive yung mga Duterte, katulad ng sinabi ni Richard, ay hindi yan mag-hesitate na bumalik sa kanila with full vengeance.
Okay.
Yun yung problema ng mga Marcos.
Okay, at this point, let's now bring in our next guest, Representative Joel Chua, Chairman of the House Committee on Good Government and Public Accountability. Kong, good afternoon. Thank you for joining the Storycon.
Good afternoon,
Good
Kong.
afternoon,
po sa inyo
Congressman.
at good afternoon po sa inyo at sa lahat po ng inyong tagapakinig.
Okay, Kong, first question. Talaga bang may impeachment? Because we've been talking all this time about impeachment. Talaga ba may impeachment? Is this going to move forward? We know nobody has filed anything yet.
Wala pa po akong idea sa impeachment. Ito naman po kasing piniring namin kanina ay binagsak lamang po sa committee ko based po dun sa privilege speech ni Congressman Valeriano ng Committee on Rules. Kaya tayo po ginagawa lamang po natin yung tungkulin natin bilang chairman ng good government.
Congressman, tama ba yung sinabi ni VP na and backed by the former President GMA, pag resource person ka daw, you don't need to be sworn in.
Ano po? Pakilinaw po.
Sabi nila, kapag resource person daw kayo dyan sa mga committee hearing, hindi daw kailangan i-swear in.
Ay, ako po kasi sa rules po namin talaga dapat po lahat sinuswear in. In fact, doon po sa isang rules, pagka hindi ka po pumayag na magpa-swear in, pwede po kayong ma-cite into contempt. Kaya lang po tayo, syempre, yung nangyari po kanina, hindi na po tayo nakipag-argumento at ginalang na lamang po natin at tinignan doon yung opisina po ng Vice President bilang the second highest official of the land. In any event, kaya naman po natin siya binibigyan ng opportunity na makapagsalita kanina. In fact, napakalinyan po natin, hinayaan natin siya mag-manifest kahit na hindi po siya nag-vote. Ito po naman ginagawa po natin para kahit papano, mabigay naman din po siya ng opportunity para marinig ang side niya. That is part of due process.
So ano po ang next move ngayon ng House? Gayong sinabi ni Vice President, well, actually, inulit lang niya, bahala na kayo sa budget ko. Pero pinasasara na niya yung investigation. Ano yung next move ng House?
Well, tutuloy lang po namin to. In fact, nagmoto proprio rin po yung committee para po dun sa DepEd base naman po sa manifestation ni Congresswoman Luistro.
Okay, Congressman, would you require the Vice President to appear in your subsequent hearings? Kailangan pa ba
Well,
siyang humarap?
we will continue to invite her. Pero siyempre, at the end of the day, nasa kanya naman po yan kung siya po ay sisipot. At patuloy po natin re-respetuhin ang kanyang opisina. Pero ito pong pribilehiyong to, pagaya po ng binanggit ko kanina, ay hindi po magiging president po sa lahat.
Okay, the Vice President by saying na huwag kayong magbigay ng budget by all means, by saying that parang sinasabi niya na she's not going to answer anything about the budget anymore. So, paano po ba yun?
Well, that is for the Congress to rule kung ano po ang gagawin dito. Tayo naman po, isa lamang po tayo. Siyempre, yan po, dadalhin po sa plenaryo. So, kaya na po natin yung buong plenaryo na magdesisyon para po dyan.
Kong, yung mga iba kasing resource persons nyo na pinapaharap nyo sa inyong mga committee at sa Kongreso, pag hindi humaharap, ay ini-issuehan nyo ng contempt citation and after that, a warrant para siya ay dalhin, para siya ay puwersahang humarap sa committee o sa Kongreso. Ito ba ay hindi posible sa Vice President? Itong ganitong klaseng possibility na siya ay makontempt kung patuloy siyang hindi haharap sa summons ng committee or ng Kongreso?
Well, ako po kasi, ang tinitingnan ko po kasi dito yung opisina ng representante po ng ating Vice Presidente at yun naman po ay binibigyan po natin ng kortesiya. Ito naman pong pag-imbita sa kanya ay pagbibigyan din po sa kanya ng pagkakataon at oportunidad na sagutin yung mga allegations na binabato po sa kanya. At ako po naniniwala, this is a good opportunity para malinaw po niya, ma-ventilate po niya ang lahat ng issues na binabato po sa kanya. At the end of the day, kagaya po ito ng preliminary investigation sa criminal, no? At the end of the day, pag ikaw po ay hindi uma-attend dyan, parang wini-waive mo yung karapatan mo para sumagot sa mga aligasyon sa inyo. So, kung mag-rule man yung mag-rule po yan, magiging ang ruling na lang po niyan base po sa ebidensya na makukuha at makakaalap po ng committee.
Pero Congressman, siya na mismo nagsabi kanina na ayaw niya ng special treatment, di ba? Kung siya ay hindi i-contempt, kung patuloy siyang hindi haharap, di ba special treatment yon?
Well, kung ayaw po yan ng special treatment, dapat po makipag-coordinate siya. At dapat din po, kagaya rin po ng ginagawa ng iba, nagtitake din po ng oath.
Okay. Ami?
Congressman, ano po yung, you are the chair of the Committee on Good Government. Ano kaya ang impact nito sa mga iba pa ninyong mga investigation sa mga ahensya regarding the judicious utilization of public funds? Kasi baka sabihin bakit si VP Sara ganyan ang ginawa?
Hindi lang, ako po kasi kauupo ko lang Ito lang po yung bumagsak pa sa aking committee. So, siyempre, pag may mga bumagsak pa pong iba, siyempre, iano naman din po natin, action na naman po natin lahat yan. In fact, nasimula na po natin, meron po tayong hinir bago po yung kay Vice President, yung samsel ko.
Okay.
Ang sabi po niya kasi, sabi ni VP, parang na-prejudge na daw siya na may mali siyang ginawa. May mga binabanggit daw na, sabi niya, misfeasance, malfeasance. Sabi niya, parang na-prejudge na siya Kaya sabi niya, malakas nga, actually, Congressman, matagal ng ugong yan meron ngang impeachment. Pero solid ba yon? Puro ano lang, puro daldal ba lang yun, puro hangin lang dyan sa House? Meron bang basis yun? Because she keeps repeating na there is an effort to impeach her.
Yung malfeasance, misfeasance, saka nalfeasance po kasi, yan po yung mga grounds para pumasok po dito po sa Committee on Good Governance. Yun po ay mga grounds para kayo po ay investigate dito po sa aking committee. So, yun naman po yung reason kanina, kaya po binabanggit kung bakit ang ating pong committee ay may jurisdiction dito po sa issue na kinakaharap po niya.
Pero may ano ba, may basis ba yung sinasabi niya nga na talaga daw there's a hindi lang daw chismis yung impeachment, talaga daw there's an active effort to impeach her.
Well, wala po kasi akong personal knowledge yan. Wala naman po akong alam tungkol dito sa impeachment. Ang ginagawa ko lamang po, ito po ay bumagsak po sa committee ko. So, ina-actionan ko lamang po itong issue na to, itong subject matter na to.
Okay, I guess,
At
Congressman...
saka masyado pong maaga pa para i-prejudge, no? Dahil first hearing pa lang po ngayon.
Okay, I guess, Congressman, ang punto po ni Ami is that the mere fact that your committee on good government is part of this hearing, hindi lang simpleng appropriations committee. The mere fact na yung good government committee ang nandito, no, nag-hear ng kaso ng investigasyon nito or hearing nito, baka papunta to doon sa malfeasance. Parang ganun po. Hindi po kaya.
Well,
may dahilan kaya nandiyan kayo.
Well, lahat naman po ng binabanggit nyo, lahat naman po yan posible. But at ako naman po kasi at the end of the day, gagawin ko lamang po yung trabaho ko bilang chairman ng good government.
On a different topic, Kong, kamusta ang politika sa Manila?
Ayan.
Very interesting din ang mga developments dyan ngayon.
Balitaan nyo kami, Kong. Tayo lang naman nandito.
Okay naman po. Siyempre, siguro mga 2 weeks na lang or 1 week na lang yata or 2 weeks talaga officially filing na. So, by that time, doon talaga malalaman natin kung sino-sino yung mga tatakbo.
Okay. Si Isko, ano bang balita kay Isko?
Ayun, mukhang Maynila na yun.
Mukhang tatakbo.
Mayor yun.
Mukhang tatakbo, mayor.
Dating magkakasama yan sila ni Kong, pero ngayon ay hindi na.
Dalawa lang ba yan?
Ha?
Dalawa lang yan tatakbo for mayor?
Mukhang apat pero yung seryoso ay si incumbent mayor at saka si former mayor.
Si former mayor.
Pero may dalawa pa na nagbabalak.
Kong, sino kaya yung dalawa pa na yun na nagbabalak? Baka kasama po kayo doon.
Yung isa po yata si Congressman Tamber Sosa.
Okay.
Isa po yun sa mga naririnig ko. Tsaka isa po si parang si Tamundong ba yun? Tamundong yata.
Okay.
Yes.
Sino kaya dadali na administrasyon? Kong, o open city yan?
Tingin ko yung incumbent.
Incumbent.
Malinaw yon. Yung incumbent ang dadali ng administrasyon.
Siguro several weeks or a month ago, nag-vote na po si Mayor Hani sa Lakas.
Lakas.
Yes.
Opo.
Paano yan, Kong, kung bigla nag-vote sa Partido Federal? Kasi may Partido Federal po, no? Baka hindi naman posible na may ibang kandidatong Partido Federal.
Normally, meron po kasi ang alliance
Okay.
So may mga alliance po sila. Kaya I believe na common candidate po ang dadalhin nila.
Okay. Maraming salamat, Congressman Joel Chua, Chairman of the House Committee on Good Government and Public Accountability. Maraming salamat po, Kong.
Salamat, Kong.
Thank you,
Maraming
Congressman.
salamat din po. Maraming salamat din po.
Okay, thanks for joining the Storycon today. Ami Pamintuan, Editor-in-Chief of the Philippine Star, and Ronald Llamas, our resident political pundit. Join us again tomorrow at 4 p.m. for the Storycon. I'm Patrick Paez. We are One News, all sides, all the time. This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.